Hey fam, I need some Lloyd Strayhorn music. I need that music in the background that Lloyd Strayhorn be playing in the background, coming on and making his announcements and stuff, right? Oh my goodness, hey. This has been this has been it's been a busy Six of Clubs day. And Six of Clubs does not do busy, right? That's the thing about it, right? So, I see two people in here so far. It's going to be that kind of night. Who is in here? I see one person. Oh my gosh. Wow. You'll see my cup. Isn't that so cool? The King of Hearts, Ace of Clubs, the where my people at? Where are my people at so far? I don't know. I don't know. Hey, Libet, where is everybody? It's like y'all are late. Y'all are late to the party, late to the live. Is today the day? I know it is. Where is everybody at? Hey. Hey, everybody is straggling in. Y'all are stragglers. Y'all are straggling in. We're gonna get this party started right? I'm trying to give people a chance to get in here for this. Wow. I'm just saying. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. People are like, I can't wait for it. And here we are here. And people aren't here. It's like, oh, hey, daughter. Everybody is like, oh my gosh, I can't wait. Hey, from Cape Town. Hey, that's so dope, right? We can talk to each other from all over the world. That is so cool. Yeah, I'm trying to get everybody a chance to get in here. I expected all you expected. Yeah, you here? I know, right? I know, boy. Where is everybody's like they so excited? I thought when I hit 8 o'clock, it would just fill up the room. Okay, well, we're gonna get started because I don't know. People have lives and they have so much that they're doing that I get it, right? No, I don't. Because people ask for this. They do. They ask for this. And then when it's time to perform, I'm by myself, right? They literally were like, oh, I can't wait. We're going to let that go, right? And we're going to proceed with the people that are here. Thank you. And thank you for those who are buying this book. Oh my gosh, look at that cover. Isn't that? Oh my gosh, let me see if I could do it right. You got to go this way. It's hard when you're on camera, right? Tools for everyday life. Who's it by? Nina Dunham. Look at her sitting in that chair. It's like I couldn't do it, but AI did it for me, right? Just the fierceness of that sitting in that chair, right? Isn't it so crazy, so dope? Ooh, I even lost two people. I'm gonna try this. Oh my god, it is crazy. I lost two people. So this is a part of my 6 week course helping. We do spend, hey Monique, we spend a lot of time in Clubhouse. We spend a lot of time talking about the cards. And, sometimes, I could get a little ahead of myself, because everybody is catching on to the cards and we are doing so much with it that I just felt like I needed to put something more comprehensive in a book to go to the add-on to my workbook, right? And this is what I came up with, tools for everyday life. And tools for everyday life is comprehensive. It is helping you if you want to be a reader, if you want to do readings, if you want just to better understand the cards and the elements. This is what tools for everyday life is going to help you to do, right? Because when we look at the cards, we're looking at energies, right? And we have 52, so we got 52 energies. But for me, the basics of it all helps it, thinking about how we learn things, right? And now in this time, I'm old school, so I try to imagine the best way to get this across, but I think that the basics, starting with the basics, is a pretty good start. And the basics are the elements, the numbers and the planets. And when we get a chance to put them all together, we have a better understanding of what we're looking at. We say today is a 6 of clubs, and it has so many things that we read about it. And for me, I always wanted to know how the person who was writing came to their conclusions, right? I wanted to know that. So I was always looking to see how they deciphered it. So learning the attributes, because once you learn the attributes of the 6 of clubs, then you got a better understanding of why things are said or how they're said, and instead of just saying, oh, it's the 6 of clubs and it's the John the Baptist card, and just those basic things, they do help. But when we're dealing with energies, we need to be as organic as possible. So that's what I like about, you know, tools for everyday life, right? So we are going to get right in to, if you go in, we're going to get right in. Y'all have read the definition, I mean, the introduction already, right? By this lovely lady, Nina Dunham. She wrote a very good introduction. So we're going to get right into it. And sorry for those who haven't gotten their books yet, because, Amazon is holiday time. And, when I look at the tracking and stuff, a lot of the books are in transit. So I'm sorry about that. But this will be recorded. And then we got 5 more weeks, right? So you won't be left out. You will be getting your book. And for those that still want the books, hey, Tony. For those who still want their books, go to my website, which is Levin University, and get the book. The book is a very useful tool for us to be able to use as just that, right? I remember when I started learning the cards, I started with the Book of Destiny, and I always wanted to have a better understanding of the divine feminine that showed up in the cards. And I just wanted it to be, I wanted to know how they came to their conclusion. So that's why I, developed, my intuition better, especially with Aquarius Maximus, my daughter, having those conversations, using our intuition. So I always wanted to have these comprehensive books and stuff like that. So I finally got, all of my notes and everything together, and I've been writing books, which is so cool, right? And I'm putting it in the way that I would have wanted it when I started, right? Exactly the way that I would have wanted it and I needed it. So those are the books that are coming out of me. And Tools for everyday life is just that. When we think about cardiology, we think about astrology, and we think about numerology, we think about how we function, right? And sometimes when you're talking about these oh, cool. You got your book yesterday? Well, sometimes when we're talking, we can be talking over people's heads. I use this in my as a social worker. I totally use this in on helping me to my clients to understand my clients better. And you could use this in any way that you want to, right? And not necessarily, putting people in a box, but helping you to be able to understand people better, right? Because if we look at the attributes that go along with the cards, excuse me, we see different things that happen. And the main place that I like to start would be on the United States spread to understand what's happening overall, and we'll get to that in the weeks that are coming. But for the tools for everyday life, it's like we're looking and we're building, right? It's like we have 13 cards in our hand, and then today is a trump card. It's like the energy of the day. It's like, where does that fit? And so many ways that we break things down. But what are we breaking down is my question. It's like we can have all of this information, but without having the basics for all of it. I'm a reading, writing, and arithmetic person. I'm someone that we learned, differently than people learn now. So I wanted to be able to go back to how we can better absorb and build from there. So that's why I wanted to do this with my book. So when we start out, we always start with the hearts because hearts are the babies, right? And when we look at this time of year, we in heart season, right? So we think about what's going on. It gives us a lot of texture to how this time of year, it can be all kind of things to you because of the hearts. It can be a very good time of the year. It can be a triggering time of the year. It can be all kind of things because hearts are the beginning. They're the babies, and they require a lot of attention. They do, and they require protection also. So when we look at the hearts, we want to look at that from a more, softer, like when they say you want to be light as a feather. So when we're looking at the hearts, we want to be more understanding that it's the fluid, it's the life force, it's flowing through us, right? So, in the book, I start off with the hearts, and it starts off with the emotional connection, right? Hearts often represent emotional connections and intimacy. When hearts appear in a spread, it can indicate a need for emotional connection with others or a desire for a deeper relationship. Hearts can also represent creative expression and artistic endeavors. When hearts appear in a spread, it can indicate a need for creative expression or a time of inspiration and artistic growth. Compassion and empathy. Hearts are also associated with compassion and empathy. When hearts appear in a spread, it can indicate a need for more empathy and understanding in a situation. Emotional healing. Hearts can represent emotional healing and recovery. When hearts appear in a spread, it can indicate a time of emotional healing and growth or a need to focus on emotional self care. Romantic relationships. Hearts are often associated with romantic relationships and love. When hearts appear in a spread, it can indicate a focus on a romantic relationship or a need for more love and connection in one's life. The interpretation of hearts in a cardology spread can vary depending on the specific cards and the overall context of the reading, right? So when we think about hearts, we think about new beginnings. We're thinking about in the texture of that circulatory system, because hearts are that life fluid that are running through us. So the better you are in nourishing your heart and making sure that you're emotionally sound, the better the hearts in your spread are going to assist you in dealing with the other attributes that we have, because we all have, all of these in our life spread. Me, my whole basically part of my life is challenged by hearts, right? So we have them in many ways that show up, and it's beneficial for us to understand that. So we look at the 13 cards. So we have 13 cards, and we have an understanding of how they play out from the ace to the, can I do it that way? From the ace to the king, right? So we're going to start off with the ace of hearts. Now, we know that aces are a new thought and a new beginning, and it's an initiation of something. So the ace of hearts represents, for me, the main thing about the ace of hearts is self-care. When it shows up in that spread, I immediately think about how I am nurturing myself, right? The things that are, close to my heart, right? Because aces represent that first thought. They represent, that drive, that passion and stuff like that. And we know that number one is symbolic of self, and aces are, constitute that self. So when the ace shows up in your spread, it definitely denotes relationships. It could be a new child, a new marriage. It could be, if you are in a relationship, it could be, you could have that new feeling, that new desire to be more energetically available in your relationship, because it's starting out with the I. So when that ace of hearts shows up, it's something that is reflecting how you're feeling, right? Because we can't start anything without having that a good source, right? So when that ace of hearts shows up in the spread, if you're doing a reading or something like that, there's going to be other indicators that are going to help you to determine exactly what that ace is saying. It could be sitting in, any of the planets, right? And the challenging karma cards are going to definitely tell that story. But we know that aces are that initial thought, right? So when we think about the ace of hearts, it's more youthful. It's more, like I said, light as a feather, and for me, the main thing is to be more nurturing to yourself when that ace shows up. Sure, it could indicate a child, but while you're pregnant, are you going to be more nurturing to yourself so you could be nurturing to the child? It starts a new relationship, but a new relationship is only going to be as good as how you're relating to yourself. So that ace is very important as that beginning. And we know that aces are looking for something, and that handoff is very important. So you're the new thought, but you're not the thing if with the ace of hearts. So that's telling you that there is something, there is a potential. Put it that way with that ace of hearts, that there's a potential of a new something in the realm of emotional, all kind of things that we think of when we think about hearts, right? Then we have the two of hearts. Now we know that twos are ruled by the moon. So twos, that's significant when we're looking and we're adding it on to that ace of hearts, because that two is wanting that connection. The moon, the same way the moon is, and the ebbing and the flowing and all the things that go on, that too is looking for that connection. So coming out of that ace, that connection is only going to be as good as how you began, right? We think about relationships all of the time and how you have a desire for a relationship, but that relationship is only going to be good as that attraction. And that attraction based on an ace of hearts that heart needs to be light. It needs to be flowing, right? It needs to be contextual. But that two is adding that element of, wanting to connect. And because it's that heart, then this definitely comes in the realm of some sort of relationship. It would not necessarily, be a strong business indication. Only based on the other cards you would be able to see that. But then if it's a business and it's a two of hearts, that's messy. Can you imagine you starting at work and it's a two of hearts? It happens for sure, but it could be messy, right? So when we're looking at that two coming along, we're looking at that moon energy. We're looking at that divine feminine, the wisdom, and all of the ebbing and the flowing and all of that of the moon. Then we're looking at the three of hearts. Now we know that threes are ruled by Jupiter. So this is an indication of, that expansion, that growth, the blessings, and all of the things that you want. But it's saying you're gonna have to do something. This is threes are very creative, but threes are outside. Three Jupiter is that societal planet that is moving differently. So that relationship takes on a different perspective. And we wouldn't necessarily think that our relationship, we're thinking about the intimacies, but this three of hearts is saying that the intimacies are going to be, you think about relationships in a family, you think about marriage and children, you're thinking about the expansion of it all emotionally, right? So this three shows up and it could be an indication of a union, that's coming together to be a part of the societal network that you are part of, right? Marriage and, all of those things, children, and all of those things that would be beneficial to the whole. So that three of hearts is important. It's the creative piece, right? That we all need when we're doing the things that we're doing, not necessarily knowing that, but your relationship is just not going to be just you and that person. It's not. There's going to be other things that are a part of it, your family, your friends, your community. So that three and that Jupiter gives that another perspective. And then we have the four, which fours are ruled by Uranus. So we're looking at how relationships and stuff like that are generational, right? When we going out into Uranus, we're going out into that outer planet. So when we see that four hearts show up, it's about the home, right? And the foundation of the home. But that's not necessarily that structure that we think of, because we know Uranus isn't structurally sound, but it's going to hit the things that need to hit in the home that change, right? Babies and school and all of those things that build that family are going to come through that four hearts. And then we have the five, just to change. It's like something's going to change, something is going to get more creative in a line of communication. And that's that ability to be more communicative. Yeah, I know I'm not gonna make up no words tonight. I probably will, right? So those hearts are very important for us to have an understanding of where they show up and how they're showing up, because the position is important. And when I'm talking about the position, I'm talking about the position in your hand and where those cards are showing up. So when we look at the tools, we develop the skills. We're looking at how, and I promise you, I have so much stuff to read. I have so much stuff that I have written that it is, oh my God, it's so delicious. I love to read, to write, right? So when we look at let me get down to where I want to read, right? Right. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, so I'm sorry for the silence, but since it just hit me here and none of y'all are here, I can't help that. Y'all have to be here in order to help me to have a conversation, right? So when we're looking at the Ace of Hearts and the the positions that it sits in, it builds it out into a better understanding, right? Because, like I said, it's the beginning. The ace is the beginning, but we know that the ace of hearts has a Jupiter influence, right? So when we think about adding those different elements, it gives another and that's on the grand solar squares, right? It gives another point of reference for us to be able to pull into the relationship. So if you have an ace, this you're looking at, if your ace is in Mercury, you're looking at mental agility, right? You're looking at, because the ace is the new thought, and then Mercury is quick. So you're looking at good communication skills and using that analytical thinking and solving problems when that ace comes up. But that's emotional. So you're thinking about Mercury and communication. So you're thinking about in relationships, it's saying that you have to be able to be a good communicator, with that being your Mercury, right? So these are the levels, these are the things that are going to better help you to understand. If we look at the number 2, you're looking at communication skills and the emotional intellect to connect with others. And by using their analytical thinking to understand and navigate complex social situations, right? So Mercury is given that, is adding on the communication piece that we will be looking at. So we're looking at an ace, we're looking at a 2, we're looking at the 3, and we're looking at the influence of the hearts, and then we're looking at the influence of the communication. So this is saying that this is going to be an emotion. This is emotional communication, but excuse me, the thing of it is that the clubs and the hearts, that's not a big stretch. So the hearts are the babies, but the clubs are the teenagers. So that communication will be fun, right? So you're thinking about, if you are in a relationship and you are in a Mercury period, and you have a heart, is like that person may need more time to process things, especially if it's with a diamond or with a spade. Think of a child and think about the things that they do. So when that ace of hearts shows up in that spread, or that 2 of hearts or any of those hearts shows up as Mercury, that's a very important time. It may come across as immature, may come across as detached. There's so many of the elements that we have to look at to see how this is building out, right? It's not just going to say, well, it's just an ace. No, the placements, the elements, all of those things tie it together so we can have a better understanding of how it shows up in the spread, right? So when we look at the total, before we even get to the planets, because the planets is definitely going to add a whole different enchilada to it. So looking at the ace of hearts, looking at the hearts being the youthful, the children, the flow of it all, the new beginnings, the new relationships, the children, and then looking at it in Mercury and it being communication. Remember, Mercury moves really fast, so that's not necessarily the best placement for a relationship, right? Because you could burn out really quick. Mercury relationships need time, right? Because Mercury, high octave of Mercury is Uranus. It takes a while to get there. So when people start with Mercury relationships, they got to keep that in mind, because that's something that is not, it is going to have to go through the paces in order for it to mature. So Mercury relationships with an ace, yeah, you definitely want to have more patience for and understanding, right? Understanding, right? So we know that hearts represent the water, right? And water is symbolizes emotions and feelings in the realm of the heart. So if you're influenced by water, you are sensitive, compassionate, and in tune with your emotions. So they prioritize their emotional connections and value deep intimacy in their relationships. So you think about that heart when it shows up and you are in a relationship, that should be a time where you start prioritizing those things, right? Like I said, based on the placement. If you are looking to start a relationship, for me, that's all about the self-care. You have that heart holding it, and it should help you to now navigate better. Because if you're not in a relationship, there's a potential for a relationship with those hearts. But there's some things that you are going to want to reflect on, because hearts, that's water, that's reflections, right? So when those hearts show up in your spread, we just want to have a better understanding. Take that litmus test and see how you're feeling when those hearts show up, especially if you're in a relationship, because that could be, if it's a five of hearts, that that's going to be a change. And that that can be a disruption in the relationship, right? Depending on where that five of hearts is sitting. But five of hearts are emotional just in and of themselves. It is just a very emotional card. But the placement is going to tell you how to navigate it. It's about communication. We start out with understanding that fives are ruled by Mercury, and it's about communication. So when that heart shows up, is when communication really has to get real serious. That five of hearts, it being that card that is more apt to fold. When you look at that five and you do that tic-tac-toe with the five dots, you think about somebody that's sitting in a position and they're feeling challenged. That's why the five is known as, for me, fives are retrograders. They call ghosting, because they're going to feel some kind of way when they're challenged. They got five places to hide in. So challenging a five can make them really, want to retreat. About the only one that ain't gonna retreat is the five of clubs and the five of clubs and that five of spades. Five of diamonds too, they're not going to retreat. But that five of hearts, yeah, it's going to get emotionally hit, and it's going to so when it shows up in your spread, that's a very powerful year that you want to pay attention to. You do not want to get into any conflicts with the five of hearts. People lose good people when they have a powerful five of hearts. It's like, I had enough, right? I'm just done. And then the next year, that card has moved into a different karma, and you're like, wow, what happened? So when that five of hearts shows up, that's a card you want to particularly pay attention to, because that card's talking about you. That card's not talking about your partner at all. It's talking about the work that you need to do in your communications, right? Now, of course, we want other people to know how to communicate, but that's not our business. If we learn how to communicate and we learn how to use these cards, I guarantee you that things will change around you. It will, because you're leading now. So instead of cutting and running and killing relationships because you got five of hearts, try a different form of communication, right? Let me see what you're saying. So an ace of hearts and Saturn might be more stable ground. No. No, I don't think so. You wouldn't say stability, because think of a child that you put in a playpen. That's an ace of hearts and Saturn. Literally. That's an ace of hearts and Saturn, a child in a playpen. They're going to break out some kind of way, or they're going to drive you crazy. So ace of hearts and Saturn, maturity for sure. It depending on the relationship and depending on the things that are happening. But an ace of hearts in Saturn might not be the best position. It's definitely a year where you're going to deal with things on a different level. And water, and Saturn is earth, rocks and all that kind of stuff. So you have a five of hearts and Neptune this year. Yeah, that's definitely about not talking. It's definitely about not communicating, right? It's like, no, we're not gonna communicate this. We're gonna mind meld. Right? With that five of hearts and Neptune. Yeah, that's a definitely a very spiritual place, right? But when we look at how that it shows up, is going to tell us the story, right? So we know that they're water, and we know that it's about, all of the things that happen. So if we look at how it shows up in the placements, we get a chance to see that, it's emotional depth attached to the hearts, right? Hearts bring emotional depth and understanding to relationships, promoting a profound sense of intimacy, empathy, and compassion. Partners influenced by hearts show empathy and compassion, supporting each other during challenging times. Intuitive and understanding. Heart's connection to water gives individuals an intuitive understanding of emotional challenges, right? But think about the Ace of Hearts. That's the beginning of it. So you have these challenges with the Ace of Hearts that can put a strain on a relationship with the Ace of Hearts and challenges. That could put a strain, because think about the Ace of Hearts and think about how it operates and how it functions. Challenges and stuff can put a strain on that relationship, and why I like to think about self care with that Ace of Hearts, right? The ability to use that energy and develop those things that you want for yourself, and how that you're able to navigate. Because pressure on a heart, yeah, that's deep. You putting pressure. So nurturing and caring yourself first, right, is important when that heart shows up. It's important to think of it as light as a feather, as much as you possibly can, to be able to, you know, empathize with people, because you, depending on your level of development, is where you're going to be at, right? But the Ace of Hearts is saying that these are opportunities that are coming from a much more, not a jaded place, right? Much more open to things, but it has to be emotionally influenced, and hearts have to be taken care of. They just do, right? We think of how we want to guard our heart and how we want to protect our heart. So think about people who carry a lot of hearts. They want to be, taken care of, right? But the ways that it could also show up is with codependency, right? So the strong emotional bond associated with hearts might lead to codependent tendencies in a relationship. Partners might become overly reliant on each other for emotional support, which can stifle individual growth and independence. And it's why I emphasize that you have to take care of yourself first, right? Difficulty letting go. Water's nature can make it challenging to let go of a past emotional wounds or grudges. In relationships, this might lead to holding on to unresolved issues, hindering the ability to move forward and heal together. So think about that. Think about this stagnant. Think about this stagnant. Water gets stagnant, right? And mood swings. The emotional intensity of hearts can lead to mood swings and unpredictable emotional reactions. Partners may find it challenging to predict each other's emotional states, leading to communication challenges, right? Because water is moving and flowing and up and down and all of that kind of stuff, right? Emotional manipulation. While hearts promote empathy and compassion, they can all be susceptible to emotional manipulation. Partners may use their emotions to gain control or influence the relationship in unhealthy ways. Conflict and avoidance. The desire to maintain emotional harmony might lead to avoiding conflicts altogether. While avoiding unnecessary conflicts can be positive, unresolved issues may fester and cause long term harm to relationships. Absorbing negativity. What is nature can lead to absorbing and holding on to negative energy or emotions from the environment or other people. This might impact the relationship's emotional atmosphere if partners are unable to manage and release their emotions. I'm going to stress that we have to have self care, right? That self care is going to help you to release, right? Whatever it is that it is, it's going to help you to release because when we have that stagnancy and we don't have the ability to make the room, it's like the flow is making room for that understanding, that emotional support, and all of the things. That stagnancy is going to prevent you from being able to get into the place of being emotionally supported. So, you not taking care of yourself is a first sign of how can you be emotionally supported to someone if you're not emotionally, adept for yourself. So the Ace of Hearts, it represents new beginnings, emotional or personal relationships. This can mean a start of a new romance, the deepening of an existing relationship, or a new level of personal growth and self-understanding. So when we look at those hearts in the beginning, that's how it started, right? That next level of stepping off into the relationships, it comes from you having a great understanding of you. If you don't have a great understanding of you and your emotional aptitude, good word, right? Your emotional desires and stuff like that, it's not necessarily going to um benefit you. And then when we step into the realm of adding on another layer, that it's going to be communication if we're dealing with clubs, right? There's going to be communication and learning, having wanting to learn and being, more more having more of an understanding through communication. So that for me, teenagers and hearts, they definitely have more. You think about it. If you just graduated high school and you're able to be more understanding because you have not, you don't have 30 years out. So I think the connection between hearts and clubs practical connection. But when we look at your emotions and your feelings and looking at clubs and their communication, it's just having that understanding. I think as we get into diamonds and we get into spades, it gets a little bit more difficult because they are the elders and the supervisors, and hearts don't necessarily want to be supervised, right? They do not want to be supervised. Um, so let's see what we got here. Okay, y'all are quiet. You're a little quiet. So that is our that's starting out with the element of the hearts, right? So and then going into the interpretation of the numbers and the cards, right? If we start adding on the planets, that's when it gets deeper and more interesting. And that is on page. What page is that on? The planets are on page. The planet starts on page 61. So adding and incorporating them into that, adding the sun, adding, if that's your sun card, and how you can imagine the Ace of Hearts. And yeah, aces are going to be a little fiery, right? So how they are going to they're gonna want The Ace of Hearts wants recognition, right? Just, do you know any Ace of Hearts? They want validation, right? They definitely express they want expression of individuality. They got pride and confidence, vitality and energy, warmth and generosity. Yeah, the Ace of Hearts is your sun card. Ooh wee, that's a powerful card, right? So when we add that sun element or the moon element, it changes it. It changes what that card is and the attributes. It adds on to it. Not change, but it adds on to it. So when we're looking at that, we'll go deeper into how that shows up. We know what we talked about, the five of hearts. So if you look at today is the six of clubs and it has a queen of hearts in it, so we want to be aware, we want to see that element of that queen of hearts, right, that it shows up today, and how the six of clubs communicates, right, because that gonna be excuse me, a very important part of that six of clubs, right? That heart, that's a very important part. Like I said, it's a club, which is a teenager, and then having that spade in between, yeah, that's a leap. It's like you could be like, we having fun today. But the six of clubs takes time to get to having fun. They gotta get past that six of spades. That's not a fun card. So they gotta get past that. It's their Mercury card. So they gotta get past that element of that fire to get to that element of that water and that heart. So this is the complexities of the elements and why I wrote this book. So we can delve deeper into that and get a better understanding. So y'all have any questions in realms of the hearts? Don't ask me no questions about yourself. Don't give me your birthday. I'm not doing no readings at all. We're talking, we're learning, and we're getting a better understanding of the elements and stuff. You want a reading, you can DM me and we will book a reading for you, okay? But this is about education right now. We're learning through the process. So anybody have any questions? Nope, y'all are quiet in there. Ain't no questions. Y'all cooking dinner, y'all eating dinner. What y'all doing? What are y'all doing, darlings? The two of hearts is messy at work. Really? I would say so. Two of hearts and the ace of club cohort, I would say they are messy. Right now, I wouldn't say messy, but busy, right? Because you're having a conversation with the two of hearts that, like I said, it's that emotional connection that they're looking for. But their soulmate is that ace of clubs that's sitting in a corner, right? That always that hidden energy. It's like when we think about the displacement and the two of hearts is sitting at home, and that ace of clubs that is that other part of it is just waiting for a moment to have something to add, right? So not necessarily messy, but you are a two of hearts and you have that ace of clubs that is sometimes you're really in the emotional realm, and then you're bouncing into communication with that ace of clubs. That could be difficult. And I think for people who don't know cardology and you have that semi-fixed card, it's like the change can be very abrupt. It's like depending on what's happening, and especially at work, because at work there's no room for that emotional piece. So that ace of clubs to that two of hearts, they can vibe pretty well together because of that, the elements. But remember that heart, that two of hearts is a very it's a very good placement, but it's a placement that has a mystery to it, right? We only see the two of hearts this time of year, and we don't see it pretty much anymore. So think about that as a person. Is it you spend so much time developing yourself? We have an energy field. Most of us diamonds and clubs have an energy field, but hearts and spades, they don't have an energy field that's readily available. It's like they gotta find ways to do things differently, right? Because the two of hearts it's going to need that emotional strength that got to pull on through people. And it's why I believe that that ace of clubs and that two of hearts, they need good strong people in their life, right, to help them to navigate their fluxes that they go through, right. What's the eight of hearts? I don't know, what is that? What is the eight of hearts trying to? Oh, okay, she said, I don't know what sup is. You okay? So the eight of hearts, what is it trying to teach us? Well, when we think about ace, we know the ace are ruled by Saturn. So that in and of itself tells you that it's not the best if you think about it in and of itself. With, like I said, a heart and Saturn is like putting a baby in a playpen, and or restricting that baby in some sort of way to keep that baby safe, right? So that eight of hearts, the emotional strength of that eight of hearts, it's an eight, so it takes time for sure. Definitely takes time to emotionally share. You would think about an eight of hearts being guarded. So when we look at it in the aspect of where we're going with it next year, is that how are you going to deal with the challenges that come your way with that eight of hearts? Because it's telling you that when they talk about ace, they say overcoming obstacles, but life isn't necessarily an obstacle, it's lifing. So I think with that eight and that heart, it's like, how do you deal with your emotions, right? Are you someone that is able to wait? It's like you may have a desire, you might want something. Are you able to let it come to you? Are you able to go through the paces of it? Because Saturn is going to test you. So that eight of hearts is really teaching you about patience, is really teaching you about understanding that things that you want are worth waiting for. Being emotionally adept with that eight of hearts. It's like having a conversation with somebody and then thinking about that, yeah, maybe I could look at it differently. Or maybe, yeah, not rushing to judgment with that eight of hearts, not rushing to judgment at all, because it's subject to change. It's subject to change. What the conversation is that you started with that ace, by the time you get to that eight of hearts, that's a whole lot of landscape, right? You've gone through the communication piece, then you've gone through the piece of building it out with Jupiter. Now Uranus is with that four, and looking at the things that may no longer be appropriate or serve you, and then that five that wants to really take it out there into the world and talk about it. And then that six is where it's really looking at how it's going to balance out. And then that seven, sitting and really processing it. Yeah, that eight goes through a whole lot of paces. So how do you use it in your everyday life, right? And we all gonna find out in the eight of hearts year, right? We're all going to find out in that eight of hearts year. It's developing. From that ace, it's developing. I find that there will be very few people who will ever experience the eight of hearts, because people don't stay stay through the paces. You got to be able to stay in order to get to the wish fulfillment of the nine, and forget about getting in with the court cards. Very few people stay in unions and relationships long enough to even get to the three. So next year is going to show a lot when you think about how to navigate through Saturn with your emotions. I'm just saying, not fun, right? You're in Saturn with your emotions, so that's telling you what? That's a lot of and you can't say restrictions with a heart. That's the last thing you want. The last thing you want is a restrictive flow with your heart. That is not good. So when we think about that Saturn and the lessons and the things that we learn, it's going to be for the greater good, right? And we got to think about it like that, because you holding on to things and not going through the paces with the eight of hearts. Yeah, that could be toxic, very toxic. That's that card has not a good potential for when it's toxic, right? You mentioned the clubs and diamonds would be more grounded than other fives if challenged, I believe. If that is so, why is that? That the clubs and the diamonds would be more grounded other fives? Well, not the five of clubs is not grounded out at all. I think five of clubs definitely takes on your Sagittarius feeling, right? Jupiter feeling. So five of clubs, that's air, so they're not going to be grounded. Diamonds, yeah, they would be more, and then spades, right? Definitely those two. Hearts and clubs, not so much grounded, but depending on the maturity, it definitely has to do, especially for the five of diamonds, because they got a queen of spades and Mercury, so they start out as adults, right? Little fidgets. They start out, the five of diamonds are born old. It's like, who are you talking to? Five of clubs, they just wanna have they just wanna have fun. Five of clubs is a very interesting card, right? To say the least. They just want to have fun, but I don't think grounded. You can't ground air, right? No, you can't. That's, yeah, and hearts, no. Five of hearts, definitely not, right? Maturity, yes, maturity is important. The lessons that you learn, people kind of run and don't want to necessarily deal with Saturn, but without Saturn, you just out here running amok, right? You need Saturn. So thank you. This was so good. Thank you to the people in here who have purchased a book. Let me know how you feeling. I take this very seriously. I don't want you to go away with not having an understanding of, and this is just the first class, right? But I don't want you to go away with not having an understanding. That's why I do this. So questions are very much appreciated and needed when we're talking about in the realm of what we're doing. Any question that's talking about anything that I'm talking about, I am willing to discuss. So always put your questions in the chat, and we will look at it together. There's no wrong question, because we all have our own interpretation of everything. I'm just looking at the basics of thank you, Brandy. I'm just looking at the basics in order to build, right? And I'm doing it along with you. I don't have all of the answers thank you. You're so welcome. I don't have all of the answers, but together we can arrive at something, right? We can arrive at something together. Oh, nice breakdown, Tony. Thank you. Appreciate that, right? So we can come to understandings, better understandings, as we get into the nuts and the bolts and all of that of it. And then you can do better readings, we can have better conversations, because we have the structured, the the beginning point. And that's why I wrote this book. I love this book. It's not because I wrote it, but I've gotten amazing feedback from people with the book. So please go to my website, which is 11 University, and purchase the book so you can have a better understanding of what I'm talking about. This book is definitely an add-on to my workbook, but this one gives us a better look at how we interpret things, because hearts have so many different meanings. People are looking for them, right? Okay, AJ. So we have different ways of looking at hearts when they show up in our spread, but when we start interpreting them and where they are in the placements and stuff, we could better use them, right? We want to better use these elements and be more understanding of them, right? Because hearts, yeah, they do represent relationships, but that first relationship with the ace of hearts is you. So if you're not able to pour into yourself, if you're not able to give yourself the nurturing that you need, how can you do it for other people? You can't. So we have to get down into understanding of that we have to use the heart that shows up in our spread, because normally it's an introduction, right? There's normally something like you looking in the 7-year spread and you see some hearts and you getting a chance to see that where this heart is sitting, this placement is something that you got to look on. So look and work at. So their hearts are an introduction to something. It's not saying that, okay, this year this is going to happen. There has been something that has been, an alert before that came that was preparing you for that, because we're preparing for relationships. We're preparing for unions. And next year is definitely a great relationship year with that Eight of Hearts. It is the playboy or the playgirl card, right? That Ace of Hearts has a Queen of Hearts, right? I'm just saying. And the Queen of Hearts is one of the most seductive cards in the deck. It is just one of those beautiful energy fields. It's Neptune. It's like the Queen of Hearts could cast a spell on you and you don't even know you under that spell till you came out of it, right? You'd be like, dang, I was under a spell, right? So it's a very interesting, but it could also be very dark. Queen of Hearts could be a very dark card. They wrote a whole story, Alice in Wonderland, based on that. Those hearts and stuff, right? So it can be a very dark energy too. Neptune can be delusional as anything. So next year with that Eight of Hearts, you starting a relationship, you want to vet that relationship. You don't want to start a relationship with an Eight of Hearts, because it could be very misleading, right? If you have not done the work, right? Because you want to be able to do that smell test. It's Neptune starting off with. And Neptune relationships, those are spiritual relationships that definitely require time. You think about a regular average relationships. Once we start adding these planets to it, it changes the game. It changes the game. And most people don't have long, fulfilling, fruitful relationships because they don't know where they started at. If you don't know where you started at and you don't have the root cause of that relationship, how can you grow that relationship? So we look at the numbers, we look at the planets, we look at all of those things. If you want a successful relationship, you have to be able to go for the long run, the long haul. Something is going to happen that could change the game. And this is staying in that relationship. And if you've had a relationship for any period of time, you know that there are things that changes it. And if you look back on it, you could say, wow, I'm glad that I got through that, right? So what are the hurdles? Last week was a 9 of spades. There was a lot of people who went through a lot of stuff, and I was one of them. In my relationship, there was a 9 of spades in the sun and 9 of spades cosmic lesson, and it was 9 months. It was a 9-month anniversary of my relationship. Nines are hard, in mathematics, right? It's 369, it's 30, 60, 90. Those are that square where something is going to happen. So when nines come and they say it's wish fulfillment, you think wish fulfillment is lollipops and roses. No, but wish fulfillment is that you've done the work and now you're stepping into the mastery of that 10. So nines denote patience and understanding. Nines are moving forward at the same time, recycling back. Nines are multiplying on themselves. They are very complicated, and it rules Mars. So our relationships are growing in a very personal place. It's personal. Nines are personal. They are personal. So the things that happen with that nine is personal. So last week with that nine of spades week, it was, I promise you, the readings that I did were like, okay, I'm not in this by myself, right? It was a lot of people trying to make sense of stuff, right? And whether or not they wanted to pursue the job, the relationship, or something. And that's what nines would do for you, right? Nines will make, especially a nine of spade. Oh, yeah. No, I respect the nine of spade. And it's my cosmic lesson this year. So I'm really learning a lot. And that's your guru. How do you guru, right? So, yeah. Thank you guys. I will definitely see you guys on Clubhouse tomorrow, but everybody else, I will see you next Tuesday. Same bad time, same bad station at 8 o'clock. Bring your questions, write your questions down as you're going through the book so we can discuss them, right, fam? Y'all have a great evening. Peace, fam.